All right, everybody. So last night, Kamala Harris was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, doing a big speaking event. She was campaigning. She's on the campaign trail big time through these swing states, these big deciders. And last night, she live streamed it. And this is actually still pretty present news. And while skimming through the live stream of that event, I found out apparently Joe Biden spoke there. I just paused it at the point where Joe Biden is about to come on stage. Apparently Joe Biden was there to speak and endorse Kamala Harris. So that goes hard as hell. Love to see it. I'm really curious if him, like, on stage speaking is going to be really energetic, or if he's going to have, like, his usual just tiredness going on. If he's going to be, like, in Sleepy Joe mode, or if he's going to be in, like, locked the fuck in mode. How funny would it be if he's just, like, full of fucking energy. Just full of energy. Every complaint everybody had about him, just completely irrelevant. He's just absolutely beaming with energy, glowing with it. Imagine. Let's watch. Here is Joe Biden's speech at the campaign event in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania last night. Let's watch. Dark Brandon, let's go! Gotta shake hands with people. Gotta do the president stuff. Aww. Gotta make sure every kid in the audience can say they've met the president.
Hello, hello, hello!
Son of a bitch. She's just beaming with energy. God damn it. God fucking damn it. He just needed a nap. He just needed a nap, guys. He just needed a fucking nap, and they wouldn't let him sleep. They wouldn't let him just have a nap and come back refreshed. They just had to keep dogging on my boy. He just needed a fucking nap.
Hello, Pittsburgh!
Low key, though, if he had brought this energy out sooner, I think there'd be a lot less people complaining about his age. I think it would still be there to a degree because he can't make himself any younger. But, like, I mean, he seems more energetic than I've seen him throughout his presidency here. That's surprising. I joked that he would be energetic here. I expected him to be, like, mumbling a little bit, but he's here. You know, like, there's no claiming that he's not, like, 100% here. There they are. VP and P. And soon to be P.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well,
Imagine if Joe was like, now you calm down with that. You all know what you did. You all know what you did. I saw a really funny, like, edit where it was like Joe Biden's Twitter account and that one anime, like, picture. You know how people, like, edit a meme where it's like, this is what dudes make their profile picture when they're, like, going through a breakup or whatever. And he makes his profile picture that, like, anime dude, like, falling back. And it's like, his new bio is, like, location, losers in Snake City, Washington, D.C. And then the bio is, like, betrayed or whatever. I really love that meme. That goes hard. Careful, Zan, some people might think you were serious. I love that meme. It really is funny. I tried to find it to show you guys on stream one time, and I couldn't dig it up. But it lives in my head rent-free.
Labor Days in Pittsburgh. And it's always good to be back with so many great friends. many of whom flew with me on Air Force One today, represent the union that's been with me since the beginning of my career. They're not that old, but since I was a 29-year-old kid. I want to thank Liz Schuler, the AFL-CIO, and Kenny of the IBEW for that strong endorsement. By the way, we have an expression in Delaware. IBEW, when I ran for president, they're the ones that brung me to the dance starting off. Not a joke. And Dave McCall.
Is that a saying there? I don't know that local saying, but okay.
Steelworkers. Dave, in 1972, Steelworkers were the first union to endorse a 29-year-old kid.
He's been super pro-union.
Joe Biden wasn't old enough to be senator when he got elected. It mattered. A guy named Huey Carcella was the district president because we used to have one of the largest labor forces in Claymont, Delaware, and North, over 4,000 workers. And it was, anyway, it all went south. But Huey.
He stuttered a little bit. Guys, he has to step down from the presidency now, immediately. He has to let Kamala take his place. How could he stutter? He's clearly not fit for the position. Can't name a single thing he's fucked up on, policy-wise, but I mean, he stuttered, guys. Like, he's got to step down. It's got to happen. These jokes are gonna happen forever. I'm never ending these jokes.
Went to the national president, I.W. Abel, and he said he wanted me to get endorsed. Everybody thought it was crazy. I literally wasn't old enough to be sworn in the day I got elected. But guess what? President Abel stuck with me.
Thank you, Joe.
And they got stuck with me for the rest of my career. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll of Bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU, Lee Saunders, and a great friend. Lee.
I don't think Biden even ran on pro-union stuff, did he? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, seriously, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember Biden being pro-union in his messaging or platform at all while he was running. And yet, in his presidency, like in his actions, in his policy, since getting elected, it has been like the most pro-union administration we've had in modern history. Like, goddamn.
And Jimmy
Wasn't
Williams,
expecting it.
Painter's allied
Wasn't surprised.
And his dad. His dad is a really good man. Mike Coleman, a sheet metal worker. We also got some of the best elected officials in America. Governor Josh Shapiro is doing an incredible job. The great Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. And one of America's best words, Ed Gainey. Ed, you're doing a hell of a job.
It is super neat that Biden, while still being the sitting president, is on the campaign trail with his VP and hopefully soon to be future president. That's pretty nice. I like that a lot. Like that Joe Biden is on the campaign trail with her, or at least here in Pennsylvania, this part of it. It sends a good message. It's a very unifying message. I like it.
And Sarah D'Amato, county executive, I think is the hardest job in American politics. Everybody knows where you live and they think you can solve all the problems. You don't have enough money. But I tell you one thing, I'm the first president ever. I used to be a county official when I was 26 years old, and it always bothered me that the federal government would send money to the state to be distributed to the county. Well, what the hell is the state going to send to the county for? All the state reps need the money. But guess what?
Yeah, they want it. Dude, it's crazy to think about it. Joe Biden was 1 year older than me when he got elected to his first position in politics. What a wild thought. 1 year younger than Joe Biden at the beginning of his political career.
Under my administration, it goes straight to the county.
He's been in politics a long time.
And one of my best friends, my name's Joe Biden. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, I forgot. This is his state. Makes sense he'd be here on the campaign trail with Kamala. This is his home state.
Bobby Casey's been a great friend. His dad was a great friend as well. And by the way, we grew up 3 blocks from one another. 3 blocks. And they still worry about us by showing up. And guess what? I was on North Washington Avenue. He was in Adams. Guess what? They've renamed North Washington Avenue down where I live Biden Way. Worth the effort.
Have they actually? Wow.
Bobby.
Should I go there and get a photo? Get a photo at the Biden Way sign? I'd go hard. Make it my new profile picture on YouTube. Just me smiling and posing next to the Biden Way sign.
Bob will make sure we get reelected again. And while we couldn't be here, I want to thank his partner in the Senate, John Fetterman. But
fuck John
if you're in a foxhole, you want Fetterman in there with you. He couldn't be here today, but guess what? He sent the best part of the family, Giselle. She's here.
Is he busy having another stroke?
Let me just say, it means so much to be with a true friend, the Vice President and the next great President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
I really hate Fetterman. I'm sorry, guys, but like you guys have seen how much I like for a lot of lefties standards, people like to say that I am too easy on the Democrats and their handling of Israel-Palestine. And that's because it really is a rock and a hard place situation. But John Fetterman seems to enjoy antagonizing people who genuinely don't like that children are dying in mass, like innocent civilians, many of them children dying in mass in Gaza. Like Fetterman seems to like genuinely take joy in fucking with those folks. But he did get elected in Pennsylvania. He is a Dem of Pennsylvania, so they gotta shout him out.
Look, folks, I come from 2 neighborhoods.
Yeah, he's better than the alternative still, but yeah.
Union. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, an awful lot of politicians have a trouble saying union, like the working people. Guess what? I'm not one of them, neither is Kamala. We know the simple truth. Wall Street did not build America. The middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. That's a fact.
Like I've said many times before, you got to remember that for Americans, middle class is being above the poverty line, and the poverty line in America is like $12,000 a year for a single person. So, like, they mean basically everyone who's not homeless on the street when they say the middle class.
By the way, that is not a slogan, that's a fact. I asked the Treasury Department to do a study, and it shows that when unions do well, all workers in America do better. That's a fact.
That is true.
That's a fact.
That is a fact. That is true. Unions are good.
It's the biggest reason why our economy is the strongest economy in the world today, without question, because of unions.
That is true.
You know,
America's economy is the strongest in the world. Every other nation
my dad, like many of his
in the West,
generation, going into
their
World War
dollar
II.
is like, if the U.S.'s economy like actually went belly up tomorrow morning, by afternoon, by lunchtime that day, the rest of the world would be in flames. Legitimately. Like, besides like China, Russia, etc., like every Western nation that we're like even somewhat tenuously allied with, like America is such a big driver of the market. If our economy actually went belly up, it'd be over for most of the world economically.
Who wasn't able to go to college. My dad was a really well-read guy, and he was always engaged. And he'd come home from work before he'd go back and close up the shop and for dinner. And the dinner was a place where we had discussions and incidentally ate. You know, my dad taught me. My dad would say this all the time. Remember, Joey, a job, and I give you my word to this, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about the community. It's about your place in the community. And it's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, that's why Kamala and I are so proud. So proud of the greatest job creation record of any president in a single term in American history.
Unprecedented job growth and like general economic growth under Bidenomics.
16 million new jobs so far.
I can tell bro needs a sip of water. I can tell he needs a sip of water. That's a dry throat cough.
800,000 manufacturing jobs. Eight years ago, how many times you hear about we can no longer be the manufacturing capital of the world? Where the hell is that written? We are the greatest manufacturing city, county in the world, state in the world, city in the world. We're going to remain that way.
It is like, it is interesting because a lot of, like from Pennsylvania to like, basically all along, like everything to the west of Pennsylvania, a lot of these states, a lot of the biggest cities in these states, their big moneymaker was manufacturing. Like, you know, like a lot of steel mills, a lot of car manufacturing, a lot of just everything manufacturing. And when the U.S. heavily relied on domestically manufactured products, business was good. Manufacturing jobs were great. Factories and plants and all that, they were pumping and running, and there was a lot of economic opportunity if you worked in these places for decades and decades. And as outsourcing got to be cheaper for a lot of these businesses, and this like started back in like the 60s and 70s, as outsourcing started to get cheaper, people started losing their jobs. And quickly, these cities went from being pretty good places to make a good living, even if it was just working in a factory, to economically bankrupt in a lot of respects. One of their biggest industries got like what's the word for it, hamstringed by outsourcing, and now like this is a big concern. A lot of people in say like Pennsylvania who work in like steel mills and stuff, they're worried about stuff like outsourcing steel. There's a reason why a lot of those people fell for Trump's bullshit when Trump's like, oh yeah, we got to tariff steel. It's gonna work out great. We don't need that foreign metal. We need to be producing here in America, America made. And well, that's not actually what's going to happen with Trump or Republican economic policy in the long run. They still run on it, and it's popular, because that's like a direct line to people's minds of, oh, more jobs. We're bringing more jobs back to America. They don't want just more jobs, you know, manifested. They want jobs brought back to America. They don't like the idea of us losing work here in domestic manufacturing to outsourcing. And they think that globalization is why there is outsourcing, and that's why so many Republicans, so many conservatives hate globalization. They call those that they consider bad or evil globalists, because in their mind, a globalist is somebody who's in favor of like you losing your job, all this like woke stuff, and it all ties together into this conspiracy that the left are actually the ones responsible for all of your woes, all of your economic, financial, and social woes.
Now, I'll tell you something. Kamala and I are damn proud that we protected the pensions of over 1 million workers and retirees. Remember all those years of promise we're going to do something about it? Well, damn it, we finally did with the Butch-Lewis Act. Over 52,000 workers and retirees across Pennsylvania alone are benefiting from that. Not only did we restore the full amount, we got them their back pay as well.
I did a whole segment about this.
Again.
It was a pretty big deal.
As everyone said to Barack, that's a big deal.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, that's a long story. Yes, sir, Liz and Kenny described it.
Listen, guys, I got to confess to you all. I've been personal friends with Joe Biden and Barack Obama for quite a few years now. We play games together online. We're friends on Discord. I actually got a group chat with them, and We're actually going to be playing a little Minecraft tonight, me, Joe, and Barack. It's going to be a fun time. We've got, we're going to be exploring the ancient city. Joe hasn't played Minecraft in a while, so he's a little behind. He hasn't seen an ancient city or fought the warden before, so we're hoping for him to do well. You know, he forgot to turn off sticky keys last time that we were playing the game and we're crouching at each other, so I'm not too confident, but hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it goes well. I'm sorry, this bit's stupid.
Another big deal. Union workers are rebuilding American infrastructure and building new factories here in America. They told me we couldn't get anything done in infrastructure. $1.2 trillion.
Yeah, we griefed Trump's house.
Remember Trump for 4 years.
I whitelisted Trump to join the server, and he did, and like we let him build for a little while, and then we blew his shit up. He rage quit the server. It was funny as fuck.
Promised every month infrastructure week. For 4 years he promised that. He didn't build a damn thing. Nothing. I mean, not nothing. Well, thanks to our infrastructure law, Pennsylvania so far has received $17 billion. $17 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Over 2,000 projects.
I could take 17
From
billion
clean water
bucks.
to affordable high-speed internet for every Pennsylvanian.
Oh yeah, the infrastructure.
Projects that include $858 million.
Guys, they're upgrading my internet infrastructure in my neighborhood soon. I think it's going to be to get fiber optic internet capabilities. So I'm pretty sure, like, in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be able to upgrade my internet service to fiber. That goes hard. I need to upgrade my my little modem thing there too, and that rules out internet issues as being like any problem in the future. That's gonna go hard. My internet's already pretty fast when it's not like spotty because of like issues. So getting fiber is gonna be wild. Holy shit. Yeah, that infrastructure bill's cool. I wonder if it's connected to the infrastructure upgrades my neighborhood's getting.
To expand the Montgomery
Hell yeah,
Lock,
Fulcrum.
better to accommodate bigger barges to get millions of tons of goods and shelves faster and more reliable and create thousands of union jobs.
Thank you, Joe.
I was working on the Great Lakes.
say with
and
my
got a
fiber
call
optic
from
internet.
From Senator Casey. He's been no bigger champion than Casey for this. You know what I call him? I call him the Casey locks. Not Goldilocks, the Casey locks.
It's so crazy to me that Joe Biden could be behind a bill that funded the improvement of internet infrastructure all across the country that, like, me and several people in my chat have all benefited from. And there are still so many streamers that fucking hate Joe Biden. Like, that infrastructure bill is the kind of shit that makes it so you can live in far more places and still be a streamer. You'd be surprised, but, like, go back in time to 10 years ago, and if you wanted to live stream, you had to buy your house hunt, and, like, live in a place that you pre-checked, like, with one of your priorities being getting a place that has the infrastructure for good internet. You have to, like, test it and ensure that, like, they don't oversell your line and that the infrastructure isn't overloaded with people in your neighborhood using the service, and that it doesn't, like, drop out at certain times of the day, because that's the kind of thing you can have has a problem and you can't predict it. And if you go back to like 10 or 11 years ago, which is not that long ago, there were content creators back then, like a lot of them on YouTube. There were streamers, content creators. Those people had to house hunt for their next place with internet like quality as their main priority. Because if a place was perfect, but it had slightly spotty internet, off the table. You can't live there if you're going to be a content creator online. You just can't. And you have to know, like, is it stable internet? It's okay if it's like 50 megabytes up, as long as it never drops below that threshold, right? Like, I'd take a stable 50 over a unstable 800 any day, right? That's what you need as a streamer. Very consistent, stable internet speed and connection. And that was way rarer, like 10 years ago, was way more accessible like 5 years ago. And now today, in large part thanks to Joe, we're heading towards much more accessible, high-quality internet. which is, you know, like as a streamer, I have an eye for like how accessible good internet is, and you'd be surprised at how hard it is to find.
Bobby's also a champion of Pennsylvania's energy communities. We passed what's called the Casey Credit, available to 45 Pennsylvania counties where energy jobs such as coal mining have been before it disappeared before we came to office. The Casey Credit provides major incentives for companies to build new battery factories, wind turbines, and more to create.
I like that branding of it, by the way. His axing of the coal industry being framed as we're giving money to these companies to invest and open up their businesses into other sectors of energy production, like green energy. I like that framing of it. We gave them money to open up to new forms of energy production, not we shut down the coal. We shut down coal.
High-paying jobs in those coal and natural gas communities.
Nice moment of sanity. Thank you.
And on top of that, there's over $4 billion and private companies have committed to invest in clean energy and advanced manufacturing here in Pennsylvania. $4 billion.
Nice.
And guess what? With your support, I signed an executive order to make sure large federal construction projects all use project labor agreements.
I don't know what that is, but everyone's clapping, so it's probably good.
Folks at home who maybe watch this and tell them know what a project.
I'm gonna guess like a project labor agreement is like a pre-agreed amount of like work hours and work condition quality agreements, like basically signing up for signing a contract on a set standard for work amount and quality and difficulty for like union members. Yeah, I'd assume it's some kind of union agreement to help guarantee safe working conditions and everything. Makes sense.
Project labor agreement is when contractors, subcontractors, and unions
he's explaining
put in place before the construction begins what the rules are, before it begins. These agreements make sure construction is top-notch, on time, on task, and by the way, on budget. Yeah! Woo! There's another big deal. Buy American. That's been the law since 1930. I got to admit, I've been around, I'm only 40, but I've been around a long time. But I
love when he makes those jokes, when he jokes that he's only 40 or 50. I think at one point he joked that he's a spry young 30-year-old man. I like those jokes. They work well.
Until 10 years ago, wasn't aware, back in the 30s, when they were trying to make sure unions could organize and business couldn't interfere. The law was passed that said every penny the president gets from the Senate, the House, and Congress to spend on a project, he should hire an American worker and use an American product. But past administration, seriously, past administration, including my predecessor, failed to buy America. They shipped jobs overseas where labor was cheaper and brought home the product that was more expensive. But not anymore. Federal projects build American roads, bridges, highways, and they'll be made with American products by American workers. That's why.
People like what he has to say.
I'm serious. It's simple and basic. That's why we're creating so many good-paying jobs. In fact, we're requiring those kinds of projects to pay Davis-Bacon prevailing wages so they're jobs that can raise a family on.
I feel like Kamala's talent is attacking Trump, and Biden's talent is like just talking about the things that they've achieved and plan to achieve in the future. Like you bring Biden up when you want him to say, here's what we've done, here's how you benefited from it, and here's what we're going to keep doing. And you bring Kamala up to be like, so let me tell you about this piece of shit I'm running against. All right? Here's what he tried to do, and here's what he wants to do if he gets elected.
Many of those jobs don't require a college degree. In fact, we expanded registered apprenticeships. Remember all the hell I got for doing that? Well, guess what? Resulted in hiring over 1 million apprentices.
I love that. Remember all the hell we got for doing that? That like Behind the scenes, Biden's like, oh my God, I fight tooth and nail. I fight tooth and nail to get this shit done for these people. And they're so ungrateful. They're so goddamn ungrateful. These little bastards. I hope that's what he's like behind the scenes.
Since we came to office. Yeah. And lots of folks don't realize getting an apprenticeship is like getting a college degree. Why? You have to train for 4 or 5 years to get that, and some of the best workers in the world are right where we are. You know? When you're in Pittsburgh, you're standing with steel workers. Let's be clear. I believe in American steel companies. American-owned and operated steel companies. A simple reason. It's not hyperbole. American steelworkers are the best steelworkers in the world. And I made it clear last time I was in Pittsburgh, United States Steel, an iconic American company for more than a century, is going to remain an American company.
People like this, especially people in Pennsylvania, in these manufacturing states.
I remember as a young senator why the National Labor Relations Board was sometimes so anti-labor. It was set up to help labor, to be pro-labor. Well, guess what? That's why one of the most significant things we've done, Kamala and I, is appointing a National Labor Relations Board that actually believes in unions and believes in recognizing the right to work. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Big pro-union stuff.
Remember,
dude, could you imagine, like, 8 years ago, 20 minutes of the president's speech being about how pro-union he is and how good unions are? Could you imagine that 8 years ago? Like, can we just stop and, like, appreciate, like, where we are right now? Like, what's going on and what's happening right now? Can we just stop and, like, celebrate that for a second? That we did, like, the president of the United States just spent 20 minutes talking about how pro-union he is and how good unions are. For 20 minutes. In, like, one of the big headquarters of manufacturing in the U.S. That's big.
Short memories. I'm all for forgiveness. I'm not for this. Trump appointed union busters on that board.
Yep.
No, that's a fact.
And now Elon Musk, biggest
real.
union buster there is like one of his big campaign
We're going to let that
funders.
son of a gun do that again? Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help.
I love that.
But look, I'm not joking
Joe.
when I say, this is not a joke. When I said this when I was running in 2020, a lot of people didn't believe me. You did, but didn't believe me. It's all at risk because of Donald Trump, literally. With a stroke of the pen, he can get rid of a lot of this. And do you think this guy gives a damn about your pensions? No, I'm serious. Do you think he loses even an instant of sleep over it? Do you think he cares about all the work you do every day and how hard it is?
Dude, he's cooking here. Like, listen, I love Biden, but where the fuck was this a few months ago? Like, this is he's cooking. Like, he's rolling it out.
Do you think he cares about good paying jobs for hard-working people who built this economy? No. Hell. He regards picket lines. He'd rather cross one than walk one. But I have no problem walking the picket line. Never have, neither, nor does Kamala.
You know, I just realized he's not wearing a tie. Like, Joe is just, like he's dressed a little more comfortably. Like, he's wearing a suit, but he's got a dress shirt on, no tie under that. He's dressed a little more casually than the president usually dresses. And he's just, I guess, allowed to do that because, like, he's not running for re-election, you know? It also kind of, he's literally, like, a little more working class looking, you know? He's dressed kind of, but minus the suit, how you would probably dress to work in a factory. So, yeah. I guess it does give off literally a blue-collar vibe, for sure.
We'll always walk alongside you. Union workers built this country. And again, that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. These are facts. These are not campaign slogans. Let me close with this. 5 years ago, I began my campaign for president right here in Pittsburgh. I said one of the reasons I was running.
Did you get your username any chance inspired by Kingdom Hearts? Is that referencing me? In my case, no. My username is just the end of my first name and the beginning of my last name. My name's Alexander Haley, and so you get Alexander Haley, and then when you put together, you get Xander Hall. When you put that together as like one word.
Was to rebuild the backbone and spine of America, the middle class and working class folks. Not a joke. Think about it. Think about it. Well, 5 years later, we've done just that.
Nice.
I'm back in Pittsburgh on Labor Day again with a simple message. As we look at this election, I spent my whole career believing in unions. I'm not joking when I say that. I'm honored to be considered the most pro-union president ever.
I'm really curious how, like, I assume the pro-union stuff didn't just materialize out of thin air. And he is from Pennsylvania. I wonder if he does have a long history in politics of having backed unions. And it just didn't get a lot of attention from the media, so people don't know about it as much. And when he came into office, it became very evident how pro-union he's always been. He's been pro-union a long time, Yazan. That makes sense. Wait, Biden's not from Delaware? I'm pretty sure he's from Pennsylvania, is he not? He said he was from Pennsylvania earlier in this speech. I think he lived in Delaware a while, but he's born in PA. Okay.
By the way, remember all the talk, Biden got elected and he's going to do a planned economy. We're going to collapse and there's going to be all this caving in. Interest rates are going to go through the ceiling. Come on, man. I'm here to tell you, it's about increasing the strength of your unions, is what this is all about. If you care about hardworking people, just give them a fair shot. Everyone in America deserves a fair shot. No, Gary, a fair shot. If you care about the dignity of work, you care about the dignity of work, and I mean it matters, the dignity of work, the way you're treated, the decency. Yeah. I remember when my great-grandfather was only the second Catholic elected statewide to the state Senate here in Pennsylvania. And I remember they talked about when they're running against him in 1906, they said...
I love that because Joe's old and Irish, he comes from a time where it's like, yo, he got elected. And he's Catholic. And that's like a huge deal back then. He's so old and Irish. I love him.
Guess what? They said he's a Molly Maguire. You know what a Molly Maguire was? Well, those of you who don't, a Molly Maguire, back in the old days, when we Irish and the Catholics came, and then the Poles and others that were Catholic, when they came to the United States of America in the beginning of the 1840s, in late 1840s, they made their way down.
You know, back when Biden came to this country. Imagine that birther movement. Biden is a Irish immigrant who came here in the 1840s. I think a fair amount of Trump supporters would fall for it, to be honest.
Down into Pennsylvania, a lot of them, and there's a tier in the coal mines. Those guys who got there last ended up being the last people in the coal mines. But a lot of the English owned the coal mines. And what they did was they'd really beat the hell out of the mostly Catholic population that was in the mines. Not a joke, not a joke. But there was a group that called the Molly Maguires. And the Molly Maguires, if they find out the foreman who was taking advantage of an individual, and they'd literally kill him. Not a joke. And they'd bring his body up and put him on the doorstep of his family.
Is Joe Biden Fed posting about anti-union? Okay, Joe Biden is telling a story right now about, like, people who would find out that, like, a foreman at a factory was mistreating the workers and would murder the foreman and leave the body on the doorstep for the family to find. And I think he's, like, talking about it and, like, you know, it was based and all, but that's crazy. Dude, Biden's telling us to Biden's telling us to take things into our own hands now. He can't be president forever. We have to carry on his legacy.
Kind of crude.
Kind of crude,
But
though.
I gotta admit, they accused my great-grandfather of being a model where he wasn't. But we were so damn disappointed. You know,
Wait, holy shit. Wait, what? Holy fuck. Wait. Why is the president revolutionary posting right now? Dude, you need to show this to the lefties. Dude, imagine like Hassan sees this, Vosh sees it, all these like lefties who hated Joe see this and they're like, oh. We might have had a pretty good guy in office. We might bring him back. Shit.
That's a joke. Look, it's about the dignity of work. It's about how you're treated. And when I met with the IBW, when I started off this last campaign first, I said, there's two things I'm asking of me. And I said, two things I'm asking of you. One, you've got to open up your unions to more women.
There.
Not a joke. And two, to more minorities. You've done both that. And guess what? Instead of having support of 30% of the American leaders, now we're 65% of the American leaders support the American union movement.
Oh, yeah. We love
It
unions.
really is all about the dignity of work. Then there's only, if you care about the dignity of work, there's only one person you have a rational choice with this time. And that's Kamala Harris. Not a,
On the Kamala train.
let me tell you about this woman. I know her. I trust her. Not a joke. I trust her. Number two, the first decision I made to nominate his nominee in 2020 was selecting her as my vice president.
That is true.
And by the way, it was the single best decision I made as president of the United States of America. I was watching something sent to me when they asked Barack. They said Barack picked me as vice president because he knew I could be president. Well, I know she'll be a good president. I know it. I've watched it when all the experts, foreign and domestic policy, would give us advice. Then we'd sit alone in a room, and she has a backbone like a ramrod. And she has the moral compass of a saint. This woman knows what she's doing. Folks, I promise you, if you elect Kamala Harris as president, it'll be the best decision you will have ever made.
Joe Biden's doing a good job.
Believe as I do.
He's like, I'm surprised at how good of a job Joe Biden is doing at convincing people to support Kamala Harris. You know? He's more base than usual here. It feels like he's removed a bit of his filter. Like, it feels like he's removed his president filter he had to keep on because he didn't want to, like, you know, potentially harm his own chances of re-election. But now that he's got nothing to worry about now, he seems so much more unfiltered in, like, a surprisingly, like, based way. I hope we get more Biden, like, speaking like this and joking about, like... mistreating of their worker, like foremans who mistreat their workers getting killed. Like, I hope he makes more jokes like he's being edgy. Like, that was an actual Dark Brandon moment right there when he was like, yeah, we found out our grandfather wasn't one of those guys who would kill the foremans who would mistreat their employees. We're disappointed, of course. That's a joke. It's a joke. You know, like, smiles at the camera. Oh my God, we need more of that Biden before this election ends.
The unions are the spine of this economy. She'll be a historic pro-union president. So, folks, we got one more job to do together. Let me ask you, are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris, our next President of the United States of America?
There they are.
And in the process, are you ready to make Donald Trump a loser again?
Yeah, that's the big part of it.
I'm more optimistic about America because we have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, there's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing. When we do it together. And that means elect my friend, our great Vice President, President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Let's go, Joe. I feel like let's go, Joe. Let's fucking go, Joe. Should have been the motto. Just let's fucking go, Joe. LFG Joe. Could you imagine? He would have won, and the Democratic Party would have never have ousted him if his motto was let's fucking go, Joe. LFG Joe. Oh, that would go so hard. Is there more to this? Oh, Kamala Harris herself speaks for a hot minute here, so let's go ahead and watch. Well, this is already a bit of a longer segment, but I mean, we've gone longer watching the speeches at the DNC. So let's see Kamala Harris herself speak. Joe Biden was the main hype man, like the opener of the event. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Oh, they cut the sound off. Oh, it's back.
Good afternoon, Pittsburgh. Thank you, Joe.
Music to my ears.
It is good to be in the House of Labor. And it is good to be back at IBW Local 5. And can we please give it up again for our President, Joe Biden? Now, I don't have to tell the brothers and sisters of labor that you really get to know somebody when you're in the middle of a fight. When times are hard, when the forces are mighty, when people don't believe something can get done and they have 1,000 excuses for why it can't get done. And I have spent more time with this extraordinary human being when the cameras were not in the room, when the stakes were high, when the heat was intense. And Joe Biden has always stood with the workers of America and labor unions of America. Always. Always. I've been with him when he'll bring folks into the Oval Office. And you know
As a
how Joe can
procrastinator,
get
I feel
sometimes. He
personally
doesn't
attacked.
spare words. It's good that sometimes the cameras are not in the room when he has those conversations. Because the thing about the Joe Biden I know, and I know you know, because he has been a friend of labor for so long, for his whole life, Joe Biden can be quite impatient. And that's a good thing for that kind of leader. Quite impatient.
I will say that does match up with his time in office. Like, a lot of shit got done in his first term, which he never knew until more recently it would be his only term. He assumed, I imagine, the entire time this was his first term of 2, and he still went crazy in that entire 4-year period, under the impression that he would probably have another 4 years to work with. Still went crazy, which is obviously good. You know, that's what you want. But I believe that. Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy who's not just like waiting around to get stuff done, because there's just been things getting done constantly.
And I say to all of the friends here, the press that's in the room, history will show what we here know. Joe Biden has been one of the most transformative presidents in the United States that we have ever witnessed. And it comes from his heart. And you know, Joe and I talk a lot about the fact that we are so proud to be the most pro-union administration in America's history.
That is true.
Thanks to
The contest is not very tough,
as we
but
know,
it's still
Joe's
true.
still got a lot of work to do, so let's also understand that.
The competition isn't
So
great.
I want to thank all the incredible leaders who are here today, including the Governor Shapiro, Lieutenant Governor Davis, Senator Casey, who we will re-elect this November, Mayor Gainey, President Schuller, President Cooper, all the leaders of
And thank you to John Fetterman for not being here.
labor who are here, all the union members who are here. So I'll just get right to a few points. I love Labor Day. I love celebrating Labor Day. And Pittsburgh, of course, is a cradle of the American labor movement. It is the birthplace of the AFL, headquarters of the Steelworkers, home to Firefighters Local 1, and of course the historic IBEW Local 5.
I totally know what those things are. I
For more
totally
than
know. I'm just not going to tell you.
years, the brothers and sisters of labor have helped lead the fight for fair pay, better benefits, and safe working conditions. And every person in our nation has benefited from that work. You know, everywhere I go, I tell people, you may not be a union member, but you better thank unions for that 5-day work week.
True. And
Thank
holidays
unions
and Labor
for
Day.
sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions
for lunch
vacation
breaks.
time.
Lunch breaks, child labor laws. I know that, like, I remember when I was 16 and I worked as a lifeguard, I was so surprised at how fucking seriously they took my clock out times. Because, you know, I, like, a fair few of us, like maybe 4 or 5 of us, were underage working as lifeguards, and they took specifically our clock out times so goddamn seriously. Because if one of us forgets to clock out, like, and clocks out like 5 minutes late, that shows up in some record somewhere as like a minor working 5 minutes into their lunch break or something, you know? And that's really, really, really not allowed, which is good. Like, it's good there's that much scrutiny, especially around like labor abuse of minors. But yeah, like that, you can thank unions and labor activists for like going back at this point centuries for getting us to this point where workers' rights are taken as seriously as they are. And you can thank the current and future labor activists for achieving the accomplishments of the future that'll make workers in America have it even better. At least I hope, you know. I'm assuming Trump's not going to win. You know, let's work hard, make sure it doesn't happen.
Because when union wages go up, everybody's wages go up. When union workplaces are safer, all workplaces are safer. When unions are strong, America is strong.
Based. Conservatives posted this speech in Detroit and were saying, like, look at her trying to act black. It's like, and like, it's called code switching. Look it up. No, yeah. It's so funny to me that Nazis and racists are suddenly pretending to not believe in the one drop rule when it comes to Kamala Harris. Like, they're so devastated by like how racist they obviously are with their insults at Kamala Harris. Their only response is to try to claim she's not black. And so all of a sudden they're pretending they don't believe in the one drop rule. Like, for those who don't know, Nazis and white nationalists, white supremacists going back like a century or something have believed in something called the one drop rule. The idea is, let's say you have a cup of white paint, like perfectly white, like 100% white paint, not even like a hair in it or anything. The idea is if that you even get a single drop of black paint into that white paint, it dilutes the purity, quote unquote, of its whiteness. Funnily enough, this same logic is also used by like black supremacist groups, like Hotep types that are like against like interracial marriages, and like they're the types that you see commenting on a post where like you'll see a black woman on social media post a photo of her like newborn baby, or like a photo of her toddler, and if the toddler has lighter skin than her, you get like a bunch of usually dudes, sometimes women, but usually dudes in the replies who are black that are saying like just the most weird shit, like you have harmed the black race by so and so, you've eliminated that baby's blackness, like what have you done? Like it's very weird. It's the same type of shit as white supremacists and Nazis get into, and so like it's so funny to see Nazis and like Hotep types do the whole one drop rule of like a drop of paint in a bucket, it's contaminated now. As if people are paint, you know? Meanwhile, they're claiming Kamala Harris, who is herself, has a undeniably black parent. Like, no one would see, I think it's her dad, right? No one would see her dad and be like, that guy is not black. No one would say that. And so why would that follow to Kamala Harris when they would never carry the standard forward on any other issue of like determining someone's race? Like Kamala doesn't get to be black because she's mixed race, but if you're even like 1 billionth%, I don't know, like Jewish or whatever, you better believe Nazis and alt-righters are going to let you know about it, right? You know what I mean? Comparing people to paint is just unbelievably insane. Yeah, this is like a very old like white supremacist like logic process. It's like on the same level as when they like used leeches for like weight loss. Okay, it's like it's very pseudoscientific. It's that kind of era of racism.
And we are clear. Not only has Pittsburgh shaped the history of America's labor movement, today you are also shaping its future. In 2021, with my dear friend, the Secretary Marty Walsh, who the President appointed to be Secretary of Labor, he and I hosted a meeting right here in this local, and it was part of the White House Labor Task Force that I lead. That day we met with a group of computer programmers who were working to form a union. 1 month later, they signed their contract and became one of the first technology unions in our nation.
Oh my God, my camera just got so dark.
On the shoulder of all those who have been here and fought the good fight. So Pittsburgh, I remind us of that to say together, we are fighting to build an economy that works for all working people. And that has always been the vision of the labor movement. And that is the vision of our campaign. You know, in this election, there are two very different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. We fight for the future. We fight for a future of dignity, respect, and opportunity for all people. We fight knowing it's some backward thinking for those folks who have been suggesting for years that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down. You know, that's the stuff they're pushing. That the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, when we know the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
The messaging has been on point.
Who you lift up. Do you fight for workers? Do you fight for families? Do you fight for those who must be seen and heard and deserve the dignity that to fight for. So we're 64 days out from this election.
Oh, it's so close, guys.
Ballots in Pennsylvania will start dropping in 14 days. 14 days. And this election is, as much as anything else, a fight for the promise of America. For the promise of America. We love our country. We love our country. And we know it is one of the highest forms of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. And that's what this election is about. And about the promise of America. And I don't need to tell unions what the promise looks like. It's what you do every day.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Guys, this entire campaign event is about how good unions are. Has that clicked for you guys yet? Like, I assume for most of you it has. This is an entire campaign event where the sitting president and running president are just running on the idea of being pro-union, because that is how popular unions have gotten. Granted, they're in a very, like, union-centric, like, state. Like, there's a reason why this is their narrative. But, like, the fact that this is their narrative at all is such a huge fucking deal. Like, it's gotten to the point now where if you want to be the progressive party in the United States, you have to be openly pro-union. Like, you can't shy away from that anymore. Like, it was done for so long. Like, you have to fully chest out, be pro-union, and act on it to be a progressive candidate. That's like the standard. That standard is now set. That floor is now
fight
built.
to move forward, Donald Trump is trying to pull us backward, including back to a time before workers had the freedom to organize.
He's going to jail.
Well, the courts will handle that, and we will handle November. How about that? We'll handle November. Let the courts handle that other thing. But we're not going back.
We're not going back. We're not going back.
Not going back. And one of the ways we're going to guarantee we don't go back is that we remember. Right? It is important to remember what that was and what it is. Yeah. Remember, as president, Donald Trump blocked overtime benefits for millions of workers. He opposed efforts to raise the minimum wage. As the president said, he appointed union busters to the National Labor Relations Board. And don't forget,
I really feel as, like, pro-labor stuff gets to be such a, like, cornerstone of Democrat messaging and policy. I'm wondering how much the, like, anti-electoral lefties are going to be able to hold themselves up on this idea that Democrats are just controlled opposition. 'Cause, like, so much of the narrative has been the Democrats are just willing to virtue signal, but they aren't willing to actually do anything to help the working class in America. Now it's at the point where the Republicans are so undeniably anti-worker and like, just American, like, working class at this point. And the Democrats are so pro-working class, it feels like you have to, like, actively avoid any messaging on labor from the Democrats to push that narrative. I guess they could still just use Gaza, but that's not going to be a thing they can hold on to forever, you know? Like, the conflict is going to simmer down a bit for a while. People aren't going to be talking about it as much. Like, there's not going to be the willpower to go out and protest and, like, hack websites for companies and stuff like that. Like, that's going to fizzle out. And I don't know if the anti-voter types can lean on that controlled opposition narrative with so much pro-worker like messaging and such a pro-worker narrative coming out of the Dems. That won't stop them because they can't read. That's true. That it is literally like those kids would be so mad if they could read. Like, it is that situation because a lot of these folks don't really keep up with policy. They don't really keep up with the news that much. They don't really research the nuances and intricacies of these issues. They just find the most like easy to virtue signal off of position, and then they virtue signal off of it. That's generally how it seems to go.
Supported so-called right-to-work laws. And if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he intends to give more tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He wants to impose what in effect would be a national sales tax, I call it the Trump national sales tax, on everyday products and basic necessities that would cost a typical American family, the economists have said this, almost $4,000 a year. He intends to repeal the Affordable Care Act and take us back to what we remember, because it wasn't that long ago, was a time when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was?
Yeah.
Children with asthma, breast cancer survivors, grandparents with diabetes.
Everybody, it was such a weird standard. Like, you can benefit from government paid for health care as long as you don't have a pre-existing condition, meaning something you were born with, basically. Something that, like, you were going to get either way. So if you're somebody who essentially was just cursed with a disability of some kind that impacts your quality of life from birth, then you don't qualify for government assistance because, like, essentially, in the subtext of those rules, you're considered trash from the get-go. If you were born with an impairment, disability, disease, or whatever it may be, then by that standard that the Republicans pushed and solidified, you were already fucked from the get-go, so why should the government help you? You should only be helped if you were a perfectly healthy person who had disaster come along and ruin your life. Like, that's... What is that logic? So the U.S. used to have free healthcare, sort of? No, Galaxy Bomb. The Affordable Care Act, I believe, was signed into place by Obama, if I'm not mistaken. And the problem was that to get it passed, they had to compromise. The Republicans put into place a standard that made it so that if you had a pre-existing condition, you could not benefit from the ACA, couldn't pay for your treatment, couldn't pay for your doctor's visits, couldn't pay for your medication. And that is most people who need like assistance from the government for covering their healthcare stuff. And they eliminated that. Now, the ACA, Obamacare, it's not perfect. Social Security benefits are not perfect, but they exist. There is, like, we currently have a system where, like, when you, I think it's taken straight out of your paycheck if you, like, work a traditional job. It's not like traditional taxes where it's, like, you have to, like, file and then, like, pay yourself. I believe it's taken straight out of your paycheck, and that's the money that goes to Social Security, and that's what's paid to, like, you know, the people who need Social Security benefits. Republicans truly are cancer? Yes. Yes, they are. I probably got a bit of that wrong, by the way, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't 100 billion trillion % know every little in and out about the ACA and how that works, but that's my basic understanding of it, is that the Republicans basically found a neat way of like restricting tens of millions of Americans from benefiting from the ACA without exactly writing it like that in the law, like in the bill.
Well, look, America has tried those failed policies before, and we are not going back. We are not going back.
We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back.
And instead,
we're not going back.
And instead, we fight for a future where no person has to go broke just because they get sick. And so
I forget what I heard this from Bernie Sanders, actually. I think it was like 40% of Americans would go completely bankrupt in the event of a medical emergency. Like 40% of Americans, maybe more, live so paycheck to paycheck that their lives are basically over if a medical emergency comes along and, like, throws them off track. Like, it's just, like, that is a ridiculously high amount, like, high percentage of Americans that are one medical emergency away from, like, life ruination, pretty much.
building on the work of President Joe Biden and I and the work we have done in the White House, we will continue to strengthen the Affordable Care Act and make prescription drugs affordable for all Americans. We fight for a future where every worker has the freedom to organize, and we will pass the PRO Act and end union busting once and for all, and Bob Casey will help us do that.
Nice.
We see and know and fight for a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. And so we will continue to build what I call an opportunity economy.
We've heard that a lot.
So that every American has an opportunity to buy a home or start a business or build intergenerational wealth and have a future that matches their dreams and ambitions and aspirations. Because, of course, that's the nature of who we are as Americans. We have dreams. We can see what is possible unburdened by what has been. We have aspirations. We have ambitions. And the system that is a good system is one that supports that and allows people the opportunity to go where they can see and imagine themselves to be. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about an opportunity economy. We fight for a future where every senior can retire with dignity. And so we will continue to defend Social Security and Medicare and pensions.
This is a huge line as well. I don't know if you've, maybe this is more unique to where I've been in my life. I've been in two places that are very heavy, dense populations of old people, and they're kind of polar opposites of each other in a lot of ways. Obviously, I lived in California for a good few years. I lived in Palm Springs. A lot of old people there. It's like a resort town with a lot of old people, a lot of snowbirds, as both Californians and Floridians happen to call them. Old people that come from northern cold states, snowbirds. And a lot of them live there. Thing is, in Palm Springs, most of the old men there, in particular, are gay. Most of the, men I think in Palm Springs might be gay, just in general, but certainly most of the old men there are wealthy, what's the term for it? Dink? Dual income, no kids? Old gay couples. And boy, do they have nice houses. Holy shit! Oh my fucking god. When I lived in Palm Springs, I lived a few blocks away from this giant, nice-ass house that had a furry pride flag hanging from the front stoop. It was at that point, I'd asked my girlfriend at the time, Lonnie, have you seen that house with the furry pride flag hanging from it? That's like a fucking mega mansion. And that was the point where I found out, furries are known to have shit tons of money, right? That shouldn't surprise you. And that's when I found out that apparently furries, it's like a running joke that furries tend to be rich. Oh my god, my nose. That's pretty ballsy. In Palm Springs, NASDAQ? No, it's not. It is not ballsy to have a furry pride flag out on your, the side of your house, the front of your house in Palm Springs, California. It is very progressive there, my point being. It is pride flags as far as the eye can see, rich old gay couples, and just sunshine and palm trees. And then on the other side of the country, where I've lived, in Florida, where I grew up, it is the opposite. The polar opposite. Notably, if you go to a place in Florida called The Villages, it is a giant gated city, basically. You might imagine a gated community, right? Just maybe a few acres of land with some houses, and, they're all very samey, and it's very suburban hell, and you have to get in through a gate. I've lived in a place like that. It is suburban hell. Don't imagine that, though. Or actually, do imagine that, but imagine it so much larger that there is a whole town inside of it, inside of this gated community. Everything from gun ranges to grocery stores to several gas stations, because you need multiple gas stations if you're going to drive around this place regularly. It's called The Villages. It is an entire everything you need to live your life, all contained in this gated community, and it's enormous. and you have to be an old person to live there. I believe you have to be like 65 or 70 or older, and you're only like allowed to be there if you're younger, if you're like the grandkids or kids of somebody who lives there. Like the grandkids can come and visit, but if they do, you better not have any like crotchety old geezers reporting them to the management of the place, or they're going to get like kicked out, right? And it is like 95% Trump country. It is like 99.8% white. Everyone is old and white, and it is a roughly 95% Trump supporting place. It is the core, the heart. Like Florida is Trump country. The Villages is Trump country in Florida. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. And all of these people, while they have money, all of them benefit from Social Security because they're old. And these are obviously the most like extreme examples of your boomer Trump supporter types, but a lot of Trump supporters are old as fuck and they benefit from Social Security. Donald Trump wants to cut their Social Security. Donald Trump wants to remove their elderly benefits. He wants to defund that shit and shut down those systems. He sees it as a waste. And they're still willing to vote for him. I don't know if it's a matter of them not knowing or a matter of them thinking that only they deserve the financial support and that somehow they'll be left unaffected because they really need it. I don't know what kind of copium they're on or if they just don't know. But regardless, Kamala and the Dems calling it out, very good strategy. I like that messaging.
And pensions. And pensions. And we will continue to strengthen America's manufacturing sector. And on that point, the president mentioned it. U.S. Steel is an historic American company, and it is vital for our nation to maintain strong American steel companies.
Oh yeah, Zan, you weren't that far off. According to Urban Stats, they voted plus 34 points for Trump in 2020. Apparently, plus 34 points for Trump in the 2020 election from the Villages. So yeah, very much Trump country. I wasn't joking.
And I couldn't agree more with President Biden. U.S. Steel should remain American-owned and American-operated. And I will always have the back of America's steelworkers. And all of America's workers. So, friends, 64 days until the most election of our lives, and probably one of the most important in the life of our nation.
And then on the other end of things, Palm Springs, California, unsurprisingly gave Biden a plus 56-point lead in 2020, according to the same site. Yeah, so literally polar opposites. Plus 34 points for Trump in the case of the Villages, Florida, plus 56 points for Biden in the case of Palm Springs. I wasn't joking. Polar opposites. And yet, still, a population of mostly old white people. You know?
Truly. And we know this is going to be a tight race to the very end. It's going to be a tight race to the very end. So let's not pay too much attention to those polls. Because as unions and labor knows best,
true, do not
we
become
know
complacent.
what it's like to be the underdog. And we are the underdog in this race. And
Not
we have some
anymore,
hard work
in the
then
polling.
ahead of us. But here's the beauty of us in this room. We like hard work. Hard work is good work.
That is one of their
Hard
slogans.
work is joyful work. And so in this fight, I will continue to count on the strength, the determination, and the hard work of the leaders in this room to knock on doors, to get folks to the polls.
Hell
and
yeah.
bluntly put, because the people in here do it, to help us win Pennsylvania.
If any of you guys want to help to try and beat Trump and other Republicans running in local elections, consider signing up with Progressive Victory. ! PV in chat, and you can get a link. You can phone bank. You can canvass. There's all sorts of work they'll have for you. And you don't even have to sign up with Progressive Victory. There are other progressive, support campaigns out there that are actively looking for people to volunteer and get help convincing people to either vote for vote for Kamala in the election, or even just for local down ballot things, whether it be representatives or even referendums and laws that are on the ballot for people to vote on. You know, for all you know, your state has a referendum on weed legality this coming election. And you need to go knock on doors and convince people to vote yes on legalizing weed. You know, like, you don't know what's on your ballot in this coming election, probably, most of you. Xander Hall, I've actually been shilling for Progressive Victory because I believe in them so much because of you. I'm glad. Yeah, it's like, you guys can do a lot to help get people in your life and outside of it to vote differently. A big part of it as well, as Kamala Harris has said herself, is to talk to people that you know. Do you have, like, a friend who's, like, they can vote, but they're not super into politics? They're like the type to just not even vote. Talk to them. Get them to vote. Convince them to vote for Kamala. Convince them to think that voting is something that is worth doing. You know, your friends and family are, like, the easiest... are, like, the easiest way to, like, get people... It's, like, the easiest way to canvass, you know? Like, getting your friends and family to vote blue is, like, the easiest canvassing you can do. You don't even have to sign up with anything. You don't have to leave your house.
So today I ask, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
Yes.
And when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless America.
Hell yeah. Look at that. Dude, could you imagine, like, 4 years ago even, like the last election, could you imagine a whole campaign speech being nothing but pro-union messaging? Like, just nothing but, we are so pro-union, so please vote for us, and also unions are the best, and here's why. Like, could you imagine that 4 years ago? This being the shit that the president, or the to-be president, is running on? It would have been harder. Yeah, I don't think it would have happened 4 years ago. This is just huge. It's so huge. It's so sad that people don't recognize it either. You know what I mean? America! Fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah! True. Indeed, Galaxy Bomb. America, indeed. Anyway, guys. What a great speech. What on-point messaging. I loved that. If you guys liked it too, if you thought you learned anything or were entertained by my video, consider dropping a like. Every thumbs up, no matter when, where, or what you're watching from me, goes a long way to help the channel. YouTube ends up pushing it in the algorithm against its own will if you like the videos enough, and it ends up getting in more people's recommended, and that means good things for the channel. So thank you to everybody who hits that like button. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and rings the bell icon, comments down below. It helps the channel a ton, and it's totally free. You can also follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, including joining my fan Discord if you haven't already. It's the main hub of my community, totally free to join. I have a, I regularly host events in my Discord, like watch parties and call-in streams, and game events. And I also announce all my new uploads and streams there. So if YouTube's being fucky for some reason, at least you know that, through Discord you'll get notified. And of course, consider supporting the channel financially if you feel like it and you've got the money for it by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support me, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.